Kept you waiting, didn't I? Welcome back to COFY Studios, and today we'll be discussing the top 10 games of 2023. Much like my movie list, we'll do a quick honorable mention segment and then jump right into the top 10. And I'll discuss my feelings on them all very briefly, and if you would like to know more, leave a comment below and I'll happily share my opinions in greater depth on certain games and things like that. Or if there's something that you love that didn't make the list, leave a comment below and I'll try and check it out. So much love to you all for all the support this last year, and let's jump right into the list. Up first, we have our honorable mentions. These are a few games that I really loved but haven't finished yet. I feel funny including a game that I haven't finished on the top 10 list, even if I really did like it. So I'm going to list those out real quick and give them all a shout out, so here we go. Up first, Mario Wonder. Super Mario Bros. Has been a staple in the gaming world forever, but seeing it invented in a new way, so artistically, reminds me of Super Mario World. I love the aesthetic that Wonder goes for, it's just so cool. It's such a good time to just look at the game, much less play it and enjoy the lovely music, new voice actors who slip into the role perfectly, or just have some fun with friends. Mario's back and better than ever. Next would be Baldur's Gate 3. Oh, I love this game so much, and it would have scored so high on my list, but it's such a dense game and I've been taking my sweet time getting through it that I just haven't finished it yet. Really an amazing game, an incredible achievement, so much level of detail and just awesomeness throughout the whole thing. It's the perfect experience if you love Dungeons & Dragons and want to play a more cinematic version of that with your friends. I utterly loved it and couldn't recommend it more. And then finally, a game I just started very recently around Christmas time, Star Ocean: The Second Story Remastered. I've absolutely loved this. I had never really played a Star Ocean game, but I was told I could play 2 without having played 1, so I jumped right into the remaster and have been loving it. The game gives you so much freedom of play style. The story is, while it can't be JRPG story, really fun and enjoyable, and the combat is just great. Along with quality of life improvements that I think more JRPGs should have, the game is just an absolutely fantastic experience, and if you're looking for something to just put your time into and hang out and drink some coffee, as the channel says, then this is definitely a game for you. Absolutely check it out. With that being said, let's jump right into the top 10.
Don't you want to be reunited with the people you lost?
I remember when I was a little kid playing through Dead Space and playing with my dad, and anytime I would get way too scared, and I guess I should preface, little meaning like 12 or 13. But when I'd get scared, he would sit with me and play through some of the levels, as we had played Resident Evil a lot together growing up. I absolutely loved being able to play the remake and re-experience a story in a new, crisp environment that I knew I loved, and also see it remastered for modern times so well. It's really an amazing achievement, and if you love action sci-fi or have ever enjoyed sci-fi horror, it's a must-play. The Dead Space remake is truly a great achievement, and I hope that they go through and remaster Dead Space 2 in the future as well. Absolutely blast, loved the combat, loved the new graphics, and it's an utterly disgusting time that you'll have an absolute blast going through.
Let's rock! This is awesome! Vandalay Technologies isn't just coming from my arm. They're after all of us.
Guess you could say Tango Gameworks has really gotten into the groove. Hi-Fi Rush is an absolutely incredible achievement. An action game with such good rhythm mechanics that everything, the environment, including the player when they're having fun, is grooving to the beat. I utterly loved its cast of characters, charming art style, gameplay that just is utterly addictive, making you come back more and more to try and get higher and higher scores, all the little achievements, and experience the fun little adventure that Chai and the crew go through. I absolutely loved Hi-Fi Rush, and I really hope more people check it out. It definitely is one of those games that I just want to see slide under the radar. Absolutely a blast, definitely check it out.
You play grown-up games, you face grown-up consequences.
What would you do in my shoes, Johnny?
You're up against seasoned players. So go out and play.
2023 was a really great bounce-back year for Cyberpunk, and Phantom Liberty is no exception. It's absolutely stunning for a DLC. It adds a whole new area, an incredible cast of characters, and improves so many systems throughout the whole game that I just can't ignore it. Cyberpunk is genuinely a new game because of because of Phantom Liberty. It's so good, it's so smooth, it's so fun. I had a blast playing through it. It improved so much the experience for me, expanded not only the world and the lore, but also the gameplay in a way that was just so satisfying and makes Cyberpunk the absolute peak of that genre. Utterly loved it, can't wait to see what CD Projekt Red does with the franchise in the future.
Long time no see.
Major Krauser? Why?
You can't save her. You can't save anyone.
What's gonna happen to me?
We gotta keep moving forward.
If you're being observant, you'll notice that a Resident Evil game is on this list after I mentioned it during the Dead Space segment. I grew up playing Resident Evil with my father a lot. It was a series that he really loved. So I'm kind of biased towards them. But oh man, RE4 Remake is the peak of the remakes they've been doing. I absolutely loved it. It's interesting too, because I've had a few friends who didn't actually like it, which I can understand. RE4 was very distinct in its initial form. But personally, I love the new remake. I found it very satisfying, spent a ton of time playing through it, even got to play it with my dad some, showing him the controls and how the new one worked, and he got to have some flashbacks to playing the original. It was an absolute blast, and I loved going through it. And hey, where's everybody going? Bingo? Armored Core 6 is the perfect mecha sandbox. I loved every second of customizing my mech, building a new robot, trying out new weapons, and utterly blasting through hordes of enemies. While it does have its issues with some level design problems being a little too linear, or some of it being a little too easy to just destroy stuff with certain weapons, you can't deny the absolute fun of basically playing with Legos that turn into giant death robots. Just what a blast. From Software always does a great job, and I'm very biased towards their design, but they absolutely knocked it out of the park, and it's easily one of the best Armored Core games to come out. I utterly loved Armored Core 6, and I highly recommend you check it out, especially if you love robots or Transformers or Gundam, anything like that. It's an absolute must-play. Definitely recommend it.
You can lean on me if you want.
Protect.
Fulfill.
Speaking of From Software, Lies of P is absolutely inspired by their classic Bloodborne, but exceeds it in some ways and pays decent homage to it in others. I absolutely loved Lies of P. It was a really, really fun time. The idea of Pinocchio in this distorted, disgusting world, trying to not lie literally and change everything, along with the robots, the monsters, and the other bleak aesthetic with classical French music in the background. There's just such a vibe to it that absolutely roars throughout the whole experience. I loved Lies of P, had a great time playing it, and even though I think it could have been better, it absolutely blows everything else out of the water this year. It's so, so good, and it's absolutely the perfect capstone to start off the top 5 games for this list. I definitely recommend Lies of P. It's emotional, gripping, just beautiful. I really had a great time playing it, and it stuck with me for a while. Definitely, definitely check it out.
I need to escape this nightmare.
Wake says a story will change reality around us. Why are we written into the story?
His name's Alan Wake, and he is definitely a writer. But this time around, we're going to get a little more psychological and a little more psychedelic. Alan Wake 2 is an utterly beautiful experience, but not in the typical beauty you might think. It's a horror game, so it's grungy, disgusting, creepy, and even scary sometimes. But I've never seen a game do such a good job at tricking the player, changing the environment on them. You walk down a hallway one way, only to turn around and find a whole new map is loaded behind you and you didn't even notice. Where are you going? Are you lost in this nightmare of a labyrinth with Alan, or have you already found your way out? So much of what this game does weaves in so well with its narrative, along with paying homage to almost literally every other game Remedy has ever worked on. There's so much love for fans, so much love for the series, and so much great writing and level design throughout this whole game. I was blown away by Alan Wake 2, and I definitely recommend you check out the New Game Plus, because maybe you'll notice things aren't always the way you remember them. Alan Wake 2 was an absolute blast. I utterly loved it, and if you even have the slightest interest in survival horror or are interested in horror writing at all, along with you liking, how would I say it? Like I said earlier, psychedelic level design, tricking the player, secret passageways, all that sort of thing. If any of that interests you even the littlest bit, definitely check out Alan Wake 2. It was an absolute blast. I loved every second of playing it, and I found myself pointing at the screen in amazement so many times, over and over again. Alan is definitely a writer, and even though he's a bit of a hack, he definitely left a soft place in my heart this year. Utterly loved it.
Job. Collect worthless garbage to return to the company desk. It's easy.
Lethal Company does an incredible job of being scary and funny at the same time. And it's not really scary in the same sense you'd think, more like the excitement you feel riding a roller coaster with your friends. So many funny moments happen naturally in this game. It's almost designed to make sure that crazy, stupid things happen as you play. And it's such a good time. I really can't express how much fun you can have booting up a lobby of Lethal Company with your friends and just goofing around. It has the best proximity chat I've ever heard in a game. So many incredibly unique enemy designs, and to think it's all made by one person is just incredible. Huge props to them. So much incredible stuff in this game, such a good time, and for such a small game to outsell so many big titles this year, I can't help but not leave it here with all the fun I've had. It starts off the top 3, and it absolutely deserves to be here. Some of the most fun I've had in years. Definitely check it out.
How to be a better Spider-Man. How to help you.
What the hell's going on with Pete?
He's not himself. Go help him.
This was our dream.
I'm not going to lose him. We're going to heal the world.
To those who've been following the channel for a while, surprise, not really. I know a lot of people were hating on this game a little this year, and while it's not perfect, my personal bias and enjoyment of Spider-Man media just takes the cake for me with this. I played so many hours of the original PS2 Spider-Man games, and to see so much direct love shown to those games like Web of Shadows or Ultimate Spider-Man is just incredible. It's the best Spider-Man experience you can possibly have, while paying tribute to the games that came before it, and coming up with a new and unique take on the symbiote story. It's everything somebody like me could ask for, and I just utterly enjoyed it. However, it's not my #1 game of the year. There is one game that beats that out, and some may have guessed it, some may have not, but let's find out if our guesses were correct. Thank you all again for watching, and let's jump right into it.
I am here. It's something only I can do.
Do not look away. You witness a king's revival and the birth of his new world.
Okay, let's go! But you are not alone. Link.
I grew up playing a lot of Legend of Zelda. Specifically, I played Skyward Sword a little on the Wii, and then jumped into some of the older copies, like my dad's copy of A Link to the Past. And I loved Breath of the Wild. I thought it was amazing. But I did agree with some people that thought that maybe it wasn't as Zelda-y and didn't have the traditional dungeons that people loved so much. But Tears of the Kingdom absolutely blows this out of the water. The dungeons are incredible. I loved the building mechanics, and the story was super compelling. Probably one of my favorite in all of the Zelda games, period. Tears of the Kingdom took what Breath of the Wild did really, really well and expanded upon it in the perfect way. Sure, the open world isn't technically any different than Breath of the Wild, although if you've played it, you do know that there's a lot more to explore this time around. And I found Zelda and Link's relationship so much more compelling this time around as well. Of course, I enjoyed Breath of the Wild where Link was trying to find her, but when he's chasing after Zelda this time, it's a little different and a little more emotionally resonant, is probably a nice way of saying it. I just utterly enjoyed every second. I thought the performances were great, the new mechanics interesting, and I found myself going back to this game over and over all year long. Exploring was so much more fun this time around, and the quality of life changes with the arm abilities were just the cherry on top. Utterly loved it. So, Tears of the Kingdom is easily my game of the year for 2023, and I absolutely enjoyed every second of it. And I highly recommend, if you have a Nintendo Switch, to go out and get a copy. It's fantastic. Thank you all so much for watching this video. It's been a huge pleasure being able to go through all my favorite stuff this year from the last year, and I hope to bring more videos really soon. Sorry that we haven't been getting back into the usual schedule, just been busy and getting back in the groove, but hoping to have lots of new content coming in the next weeks, and maybe even a few changes to the schedule to allow for other things like streams, or maybe even some podcast kind of stuff I'm working on in the background. We'll see how it all goes. Again, thank you all so much for tuning in, and here's to a great 2024. Peace and love, everybody, and have a great rest of your day. See ya!